God bless you and good morning. Let us get to work. Warning. This transition is a memory breach alert. You may experience a sudden wave of emotional nausea that feels like shame but sounds like silence. Random spikes of frustration with no visible trigger. And a vague sense that you're moving fast but no idea where you are headed. These are not glitches. These are symptoms of spiritual amnesia. If you have normalized drift, numbed obedience, or glamorized busyness, you are already under memory decay. Please do not scroll away. Do not spiritualize the silence. Don't call the haze a phase. This is not a vibe check. This is a soul system override. Welcome to Raw 4 Epoch 2, day 121. The day you forgot who you are. You did not fall off because the storm got stronger. You fell off because your remembrance got weaker. The real war wasn't outside of you. It was inside. The day you forgot your stamp. The day you let the noise define you louder than the voice that built you. Drift. Drift isn't accidental, it's authored through amnesia. Today we don't just remember, we return to memory, to authorship, to root, to source, to architect, to the infinite, to God. Here's our concept overview. We're talking about memory. Memory is the system. Here's what you'll learn. Why forgetting isn't failure, it's spiritual amnesia. How drift always begins with uninspected memory. Why your system only sustains what it authors daily. How to identify defaults when how identity defaults when remembrance decays. And why ritual and remembrance are your real system governs nostalgia. Let's get into a visual metaphor. We call this the frayed rope on the anchor. Walk with me. Imagine this. Close your eyes. If it makes you feel better, here's what you're looking at. A massive ship docked at the shore. The chains look thick, solid, and unbreakable. But under the surface, strand by strand, it's fraying. Not all at once, quietly. Thread by thread, until one day the whole ship breaks free. And nobody can figure out why. It didn't break because of one storm. It broke because the anchor maintenance was abandoned. Neglected threads become drift. You didn't drift because of today's battle. You drifted because you stopped sealing yesterday's identity. Here's my personal perspective. To appreciating the pull and drift towards remembrance and memory of the abundance you seek for your life. And the only way that I've understood the significance of the overwhelming abundance possible, you dream the biggest dreams, you feel the biggest and greatest, most richest life for yourself. The pull to the darkest depths is equally fortifying and gripping and always available. In simplest terms, if you can't remember who you are, You will cause yourself to forget who you are. Let me reference a book I just read, The Lucifer Principle. I just completed it. It's one of those things where you were upset when it was done. But in it, they talked about two rats, each exposed to shock. One had access to a lever to stop it, the other didn't. The rat with the lever, though in pain, remained in control. And when introduced to new environments, it thrived. Despite the pain and the remembrance, it still found food, still found mates, still reproduced, it still lived. The other rat, who had no lever, was drowned in chemicals, its own neurological chemicals. It was numbed to the point that even when shock was removed, it could not recover. And when placed in new environments, it could not survive. That is what not remembering who you are does to you. That is what the absence of authorship will do. Shock is unavoidable. But leverage is sacred. The shock of not remembering who you are should include all of it. The pain of striving, the stretch of growth, the exhaustion of root source alignment, the fatigue of walking with God. It is exhausting walking with God, straight up. The burden of vision, the ache of becoming. Because if you don't pursue the strain required for transformation, you will inherit the paralysis of stagnation. You will chemically sedate your own remembrance. This happens in your body. And no motivation, no quote, no escape will save you. You will only be reminded of who you are not. And that reminder will not humble you. It will incapacitate you. You will become loyal to nothingness. You will stop growing. You will stop stretching. You will fall asleep in the pain of lack. And eventually, you won't even remember that you forgot. So my personal perspective on why I strive for a routine that's implicit towards growth. They speak about something called tennis time in this book too. Time versus relative time. I just remember the pain of I'm not enough. The ache of spiritual disconnection, the pressure of not winning. And that would just straight drown me. But I have an alternate way to remember. So I remember who I now am. Because I'm rooted in my prayer. I'm rooted in God, rooted in routine. And that pain, I said it, it's pain. That friction, yes, it's friction. But it reminds me I'm alive. And I built the routine to remember through resistance. Because if I don't, I will forget. And forgetting is not passive. It is spiritual suicide. You must shock yourself into a life of remembrance before the world shocks you into sedation. My perspective, my proof. We're going to get into the Black Book and the system teachings. Let's check the chat. The significance of the book and that study, that's why I had to add it to my personal perspective. If it wasn't abundantly clear, both of the subjects, the rats, were every day living through literal shock, physical pain of shock. The significance was the one with control to the lever had and remained in control of their life. The other did not, lost control, released authority of themselves. So life will shock you in many ways. Life will shock you in your own individual relationship to self, probably a long time ago that you didn't even realize, and deter you. It will do it relationally with people who you think you love or who you think love you. I'm not telling you nothing you don't already know that we don't know experience. It'll shock you in your profession. It'll shock you with your finances. It'll shock you with loss and lack and poverty. And even if you have the abundance at scale, there's still the possibility that it'll shock you with something that is missing. Where you lose substance, where you lose connection, where you lose root. And the significance of those who lose control is the chemical stimulation of endorphins and things in your body that start to shut you down. That is what I'm talking about with sedation. You're walking around like a zombie. You're trying to figure out why. It's because your body is actively shutting you down because your mind doesn't believe anymore. You forgot who you were, and all you remember of who you are is what you don't have. That's why all these things are so significant. Stop speaking broke out into the world and into the universe, even if you are. Stop telling people about how broke you are. Stop telling people what's not working. Stop aligning constantly with lack and poverty and wonder why you still lack. It's not a coincidence. It is literal science. All kinds of science. Neurological science, spiritual science, laws of the universe, the way business works, the way life works. I just started reading another book, The Prometheus Ring. They talk about the thinker versus the prover. The thinker thinks, the prover goes out and sets out to prove what the thinker has thought. Stop thinking yourself into proving to yourself about how broke you are, about how nothing works. Really, nothing works. You're that convinced. I'm such a stickler for language. You've really convinced yourself that nothing works. God bless, man, it broke my heart. I got a quote, a comment yesterday. Somebody posted about, I'm a loser, I lose all the time. Are you kidding me? God bless, and with all due respect, that you could post that proves to me you're not losing all the time. Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, sometimes you're in a constant battle and a fight with life, and life has a heavier hand, and life is beating you down to the body, and they're giving you body shot after body shot after body shot after body shot. You just stay down. And so it feels like all the time. I assure you, it's not all the time. If you gave yourself time to stop and went a little silent and just listened and paid attention to all the beauty that's around you, you'd find a way to realize, at minimum, it's not all the time. Thank you, God, I'm alive today. Why do you think we're driven back towards these practices of graciousness and gratitude? Because you've forgotten what you should be grateful for. The world has not just sedated you into shock and beating you with body shots. It's that it told you who you're supposed to be and you believed it. And now you don't have what they told you to believe you should have. And now what? You don't believe in yourself? The world shocks you into sedation. When you feed yourself, it's like you're constantly shocking your own body. You lost the lever on your life. Go look it up. My energy's low because you keep feeding yourself low energy moods. You keep shocking yourself into paralysis. You are doing it to you. And if you're not, then you can't get yourself out. And I can't help you for sure. I'm already limited in my own way. It's already hard enough for me as it is. I don't got no time if you don't have time. I don't have time. Cool. We have nothing to talk about. And that's how your mind works. When you tell yourself, I don't have the time, your mind's like, yep, we don't have time. And then life proves to you, you don't have time. You don't have time. You don't have time. But if you have time to tell me you don't have time, I'd rather use that time. You use that time to find time. That's what I'm talking about. That we speak in these completed, limited talk. And then we wonder why. Let's get into the black book. System teachings. Memory drift mechanics. Drift starts with uninspected identity. The system doesn't collapse, it dissolves slowly, thread by thread, like the ship. That's regression. Yo, I don't know if we can get into it here. We're going to get into it, I think, in another episode because I'm about 5 or 6 days ahead. But again, I want to reinforce this. When you stop moving your physical body, your body sends signals to the organs that keep you functioning healthily to start shutting down and regressing. It starts dissolving. You can't operate off remembered moments. Identity must be reauthored daily or it defaults to past fear. Survival triggers are memory gaps in disguise. You're not anxious, you're untethered. Let me tell you what you don't need. You don't need more motivation. You need routine that restores memory. Daily remembrance is divine maintenance. Your identity is written by what you repeat. Your subconscious does not record what you believe, it records what you rehearse. And what you rehearse, believe it or not, is what you believe. Every repeated thought, every delayed obedience, every missed moment of remembrance becomes a neural ritual. And rituals become identity. This means every day you don't consciously return to remembrance, you are subconsciously building amnesia. No input is neutral. You are either rehearsing remembrance or programming your own forgetting. You are not absolved. We're going to get into our consequences. Because you don't consciously accept accountability doesn't negate the fact that you're accountable. Every day you move away from who you were when you started this thing, when opportunity was aplenty, when you weren't tainted consciously, emotionally, and spiritually with other people's programming, other people's problems, other people's judgments and condemnations. The only way that I can understand to share with you all the process of being able to extend and stretch and grow to infinite levels, man, infinite levels, is every day you must remember. And you must create so many yesterdays of remembrance towards what you believe you are that every today you get, it doesn't matter, it defaults. The routine is not just like, oh, it's cool, it's trendy. Let me sell you something that is profitable and marketable. All those things are true just by the default of things that are positive, things that could help are already marketable and valuable. I present my value to you as having value to me. That's the value. When you find value in yourself, you become more valuable to the collective. Because we're all just the same. I mean, at least chemically and the way we're built and configured, we all have the same image. We get there in different ways. Yeah, I know. But the reality to what I'm trying to express here is, if you go back to the test with the rats, I don't know why I hate saying rats out loud. It feels uncomfortable to me. But the test subjects, the significance of the lever is control. We all want control of our lives. We all want dominion over ourselves. And the more you lose the lever and access to the lever of your life, the more you go into stasis. So that is why, regardless of where you are, you got to reverse engineer and come back to this reality. The things you're complaining about, it took a while for you to come to consciousness to complain about it. It took a while for you to remember that over and over and over and over. So now it's going to take a while for you to reprogram that. Yes, I believe in as soon as you change your mind, you change your life right now. But only to what you have access to. You still got to clock in today, wherever you're clocking in at. You still got to grind it out with your significant other, presuming you have one. And if you don't, you have many relationships. Because you changed, don't be that selfish, doesn't mean everything around you has to change with you or that it ever will. But the routine that you create has to be towards control. Why? When you give yourself back control of your life, that's also a chemical stimulation. Oh my God, I have so much more energy. Not a coincidence. When you give yourself access to control, when you start to script how you want to live, your body, you get spirited, your mind, everything reacts towards it and pushes you forward. Why? Because it hurts. Because you're stretching. And whether you are conscious of it yet or not, that is your preferred mechanism of flow. You want to be growing, which means you want to be in pain more than you realize. It's that somebody sold you comfort. And you got it on a membership, $19.99 a month. It's just, how many subscriptions do you have that hit your card? And you, oh, I have that still? That's your life when you forget. There's consequences. Let me close the loop. I almost forgot. So when you structure your day, if I didn't say it already, now you can remember day 121. This is why I believe God sent me here. It's going to be 121, 122. You see it on camera, but I've been already years now doing this. So you really can't break me. Yes, you can hurt me. My wife said to me yesterday, or the day before, we were driving randomly. Can I make you cry? She asked me that question. I said, of course you can. Why do you ask that? Oh, I just wanted to make sure. The shit that we say to each other sometimes. But that's powerful. Life can still break you down and make you cry. Life can certainly break me down and make me cry. That doesn't make you worse. That actually makes you better. So I forced myself into massive, excruciating mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, psychological pain. So sometimes I break all the way down. Why? That's the only way to get up. That's the only way to stretch. How do I persevere? All these buzzwords, all these traits, character traits that if you were creating a character, you would assign to yourself. You just got to remember. Everything I do is tightly aligned. We talked about mind, body, and spirit. So I have constant remembrance from all the rehearsal. I am rehearsing every day for a better and better and better and better and better version. So I can remember, yep, I just get up. Yep, I just move. Yep, there's friction. Yep, I didn't plan for this. Yep, I wasn't quite expecting this. The beauty of that is we think of I didn't plan, I didn't rehearse, I didn't expect, and that it's negative. But when you're on this level and on this flow of remembrance and you tapping back into the essence of your soul, the things you didn't plan for, expect, or script become abundant in a way that is not fracturing and degrading and regressing. I'm tired of hearing about the shit outside in the street too, about how much pain, man. Yes, all right, enough of it. How much more compassion do you want and seek from whatever the world offers socially? I don't want attention that way. That's just me. Let me get back to my point before I digress. Let me digress and get back to my point before I lose the intentionality. the unexpectedness, the things that you can't plan for, they're positive too. The blessings that the world, that God, that root, that source, that architect, that creator has for you don't have to always be shock in a way that puts you into a cage and restricts you. It can shock you into love and joy and positivity. Yeah, that could make you cry too. I cry for the happy. Come on, man. Let's get into the consequences. Here are the consequences of an action. You'll confuse normal with numbness. You'll build systems but never inhabit them. You'll feel exhausted, but it'll be spiritual starvation. You'll scroll for signs instead of moving from source, and worst of all, you'll remember just enough to ache, but never enough to rise. Are you running your system, or is the system running you? If all you can remember are the reasons to keep you down, if all you look for are signs and symptoms, the thinker, the prover, you can think yourself into proof that you are not enough. You can think yourself into proving that life is against you. You can think yourself to proving that God is now the devil. You create your heaven, even if it's hell. You can think yourself into proving whatever it is you want to think yourself to prove. And you can prove to think to yourself again the same nonsense of fear-derived, broke, poverty-driven consciousness. You don't believe me? Stop and ask yourself right now, who do you think you are? And tell me you're not right. And tell me you don't have enough proof to support it. But that's not where we want to stay. Let's talk about the how to lock in daily remembrance. Let's start with a morning root statement. Start with identity before input. I move from remembrance, not reaction. I remember who I am. I know who I want to be. The world ain't going to make me react. I respond. The midday mirror. Ask, is this me operating from authorship or autopilot? Do not flow into autopilot, please. Nightly return. Document one move that aligns you to remembrance today. Seal it in writing before sleep resets you. Practice consciousness. Practice being spirited. Practice regulating yourself and aligning yourself through remembrance. Like, don't just go through the morning. How about this? How many more mornings are you going to have of the same mornings where you're like, yo, I'm tired of this morning? Then you come to the middle of the day and you're like, well, what has happened to me today? Then you're exhausted. Lock in. Check in. That is how you start to rewrite remembrance, your memory around who am I? Who am I? Who am I? It can change as immediate as right now, at least to you. And no, that's a fun game. Nobody has to know but you. Let them wonder. All right. Let's get into our daily phone tap. You got the call. I want to come up with a new ringtone. I keep saying that. This is our ARR, audit, remix, re-record, creation, covenant loop. We start with an audit, which is memory, identity. Name one moment this week you let fear, fatigue, or delay replace your authority. The audit really is the memory. The memory is emotional. Emotions and the memory don't really have, I've been saying this now, I think for like the past week, and that you could tell that stuck with me when I read it and I heard it and I was able to appreciate it. We contextualize it. We give it words because it allows for wisdom. But the moment you identify for the week that you let fear, where are we, Thursday? fear, fatigue, or delay replace your authority. Like, you felt the emotion. The emotion is not an indicator and a trigger to contextualize you to not move. It's an option. I said it in my personal perspective. If you have felt yourself in the deepest, darkest depth, great, congratulations. You can keep going deeper, which is only going to feel the same way, or you can leap forward and go towards the light. You can keep going with the fear and the fatigue and the delay, and it's just going to keep giving you the same things. That's still your authority. But the emotion, when you tie to the memory and the emotion and the feeling, like how do you want to feel, it triggers the creation loop. Because if you could think about it, the memory, which is not contextualized, you're now going to try to put thought to it. That's the remix. Freaky. The remix is the thought identity. Identify the false thought that replaced your remembrance. Replace it with the true one rooted in God, source, creator, architect, the infinite. The image that you were built to be. The easiest thing to do is to operate on the poles, the polarity. It's not necessarily the opposites, but you can certainly think of it in that way to make it very simplistic. When I'm unhappy, I prefer to be happy. Unhappiness is a signal and a trigger towards happiness. You choose. So if you're going to experience the emotion and create the thought, well, then have a contrasting thought. How about that for an idea? As soon as you're about to start complaining, you're going to complain to me about what you don't have. A lot of us know exactly what we don't want. How about you tell me what you want? A lot of us know the problems. What is your solution? A lot of us are conflicted. How do you resolve that? Where's your resolve? So it's fine. You're going to remember a lot of what you do today. That's part of it. You can't just remember new all the time. You're going to remember the old. Nothing wrong with that. That's just a reality because we're emotional. So emotions, thoughts, you're on a spectrum. Swing the spectrum. And then make that a habit. Remember how every time I come here, come to consciousness, yo, stop doing that. Tell yourself, I tell myself all the time, yo, stop doing that. When I have things that I think about that I don't like, there's certain times I'm like, all right, this is just me going through the motions of dark light, left, right, north, south, up, down, on and on. But then sometimes it's like, yo, no, stop that. Stop thinking that. Stop believing that. Stop flirting with that. That's think of it like that. It's about the seductive nature. You keep flirting with the devil, eventually you'll start dancing with the devil. You keep flirting with poverty and you will dance with poverty. You flirt with being broke and you will be dancing with brokenness. Let go. Get a new dance partner. Let the trigger be when I come to this level of consciousness, I'm going to flirt with the opposite end. And then eventually, without you even realizing it, you'll remember that if I can think about left, I can think about right. If I can certainly go forward, I can go backward. But if you're going backward, you might want to go forward. Make it positive. Now, the last part of the creation covenant loop. So we got the emotion, we got the thought. At this point, you're still in the theory. Now you got to re-record action identity. You got to identify with the action. You got to move, right? Take one immediate action that reflects who you are at your root, not your rut. Don't wait. Don't plan. Remove from remembrance. I think because of especially now, the exposure to our physical our reality, this dimension, this experience. I said it many times. One of the things that struck me and continues to be part of my evolution as far as how I can rationalize things. 80% of our sensories, you know, I get sometimes, are you smarter than a fifth grader, nervous about like your senses, your taste, your hearing, your sight. You're like, why is that important? Well, 80% of how you interpret life is through your visual sense. So if you want to take one immediate action that reflects who you are at your root, not your rut, the reality is if you feel like you're in a rut, you're seeing constant rutness. So if 80%, that's like 8 out of every 10, 8 out of every 10 thoughts you have are towards what you see in your rut, you got to move against the grain. That's why the poles are so important. That is why before you can return here, you got to run from what's out here. You got to run. You got to tell yourself that you can't believe what you see anymore. That's hard because what you see is repeated to you. It's 80% of how you are stimulated. That's also why we close our eyes. Stop looking. Just stop looking out there. There's nothing for you out there anymore that you haven't already saw or haven't already seen. And what's already seen, it's already dead because it's already been created. It's already rotting. It's stale. The environment you see needs you to keep injecting life into it. That's how the hood stays the hood and poverty stays the poverty. Like you would think, why doesn't everybody just run away? You don't run away from, we shouldn't leave, but we should leave the essence and the stench and the stigma of what it is palpable. We reinforce it because we see it and we realign with the remembrance of it. We just keep performing the way we think we have to perform for it. The only way to move, or the only way to change, is not to just move. You got to move in likely the opposite direction. And so the significance of the stimulus of what you see, if you just keep waiting based on what you see, you won't run. And that'll keep reflecting. So just move. And the move you make will return you to your root. I show you. God already told me. You don't got to believe me. The day you forgot who you are didn't shout. It whispered. It silenced you. It rewrote you without your permission. That doesn't bother you. Today is your re-entry into your name, into your memory, into your divine dominion. You're not just remembering today. You're rebooting your authorship. Don't delay. Don't drift. Move. Own it or be owned by it. You either run the system or the system runs you. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.